Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 255 of Optimal Living Advice, the podcast where we take any questions you might have about the many struggles of life and get them answered for you here on the show. I am your host, Certified Life Coach Greg Audino, reminding you before we begin that if you have a question you would like help with on the show, we welcome you to email it to us at advice@oldpodcast.com. Really happy you've joined today, folks. We'll be taking a look at a longer question from a listener who has a lot on her plate, a lot of potential choices and paths she could take, but she's also got a habit of not finishing what she starts. I'm wondering whether this is a more pressing issue than the choices themselves, but let's look at all of it and see if we can help her look at this dilemma from some new angles. Here's what she's got for us. Listen closely. I've been working in the veterinary field for 15 years and just switched into working in a dog boarding facility. It's been a bit overwhelming since they just opened 2 months ago, and I'm trying to learn every detail of the job. I started school for medical coding and billing 2 years ago as well, and have my bachelor's in business administration and my veterinary paramedic certificate. I decided to get into medical coding because I could see myself in that field. I need to get certified still and pass testing. My question, though, is that for years, I have been wanting to do something that involves just taking care of animals, like maybe helping run a rescue, or set up a boarding business, or even pet sitting. I know I should finish getting my certification, but I have this thought I should just try and push for my dreams. I have a bad habit of starting things and not finishing them. I just need advice on what I should do. I don't feel completely happy where I'm working right now. I feel like I have to invest way more of my personal time than needed to learn the job. I want to start over, but I know my family needs me to help cover bills here and there. I know if I follow my medical coding certification, it may lead to a stable job, but I question if I will be happy. Ooh, Asker, we are so alike. In the good way, we are alike in that we love animals. In the other way, well, I'll get to that a little bit. Thank you for sending this in. I have a lot of questions about what you've submitted, but before I get to those, I first want to address the current path that you're on, the job you're in, and the schooling you're in. You seem to have a lot of fear around staying on both of these paths, work and school. I don't really feel confident in saying it's clearly good or bad to do this, clearly helpful or unhelpful. So, at least by my estimation, you're not looking at any obvious mess-ups right now, no matter what you do. I also want to say that if you changed nothing at all, the route you're currently going down would get easier in a lot of ways, both in what you have to do and what your options would look like in the future, right? So your job at the dog boarding facility, it will get easier because you've all been there. All of you have only been there 2 months. 2 months is nothing. It's not nearly enough time for you or your coworkers to get into a steady groove. So work will get easier. And in turn, the amount of personal time you have to invest in learning the job will definitely lessen. Finishing your medical coding certification will also make things easier if you consider the fact that it opens up new job options for you should you want them. In many cases, excess options are not helpful. I talk about that a lot. But in a competitive job market, no one's going to be too upset about having another degree handy. You will also be able to say that you started something and finished it. This would make things easier on you emotionally, because you mentioned wrestling with it in the past, and it's clearly what you're wrestling with now in the situation you've presented to me. I'd also say that getting the degree is the perfect size endeavor for you to finish right now, especially if you're already 2 years in. And what I mean by that is that it's something that requires effort and diligence, but it's not so life or identity altering were you to reverse the decision, such as leaving a marriage or moving somewhere far away. So, finishing requires a lot of work, but stopping would not be a change that's terribly hard to rebound from. So, all things considered, I don't think staying on the path you're on and reevaluating once this job gets easier and once you have another degree in your pocket, I don't think that's something that will set you back or prevent you from following your dreams. But I wonder if it's not about the path at all for you. and if feeling as though you went wrong somehow, some way, is inevitable. I wonder this because of a few things you said. So, of course, there's the pattern of not finishing things you start. There's also having a dream about wanting to do something that involves taking care of animals, yet that's what you're doing right now. But you're not completely happy where you're working right now, and that's okay because not every job taking care of animals will necessarily be enjoyable. But this one is new, and you really haven't given it a fair shot. Instead, you're frustrated that it's taking more free time than you thought it would. So that term completely happy that you used is very dangerous. And that's what I suspect could be the cornerstone of this problem, just disguised as a lack of direction. Completely happy is not going to happen, especially if you have this constant grass is greener syndrome, which would be that other thing that we have in common, if you do feel this accurately describes you. Are you demanding too much happiness and unwilling to make sacrifices? Are you impatient in times of uncertainty? This could be the case given your current predicament and the fact that you don't finish things you start. Do you need to work on pushing through the setbacks and entering them with curiosity and calmness rather than hitting the panic button? Maybe. These questions are very speculative on my part, and they're a lot to chew on your part. But I just feel too many components of your question point in this direction. So, if I were you, instead of considering what exterior path will solve your problems and bring complete happiness, I would take some time to think about what you'll tolerate and what you won't, because something has to give. So what struggles do you want? Will you tolerate helping with your family's bills and losing that money from your own pocket? Or if not, will you tolerate potential discomfort and or backlash from them? Will you tolerate the work required to finish your certification? Or if not, will you tolerate knowing that it's something else you didn't finish? Or if you believe you have to tolerate very little in general, is the very stress of trying to tailor your life in such a way something that you're willing to tolerate? Ask these questions of yourself and see where they take you. Look at the discomfort on both sides of the questions you're facing and decide which is more tolerable, so you can be realistic about necessary sacrifices and be in control of them. Asker, thank you very much for sending this question in. I really hope you can find your way through this and do so knowing that there really are no wrong answers. Who's to say what's exactly right? Right now, you are educating yourself, you're focusing on what you love, you're setting yourself up for the future, and you're trying to be conscientious of your family all at once. There's a lot to be proud of in there, so don't forget that. You could die tomorrow knowing that you tried your best, and at least to me, what more could you really ask for? Take that to the bank, everyone. Thanks for joining me today, folks, and hey, be sure to come on back for the next one. I love you all. Talk to you soon.